Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Esquire Coaching Radio, where we help attorneys achieve unparalleled personal and professional success. And now here's your host, Ann Jenrette Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Esquire Coaching Radio Show. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you today. As you know, Esquire Coaching is a national coaching and consulting firm that's dedicated to helping attorneys achieve extraordinary whole life success. And to that end, we discuss the full range of topics from business building to getting a job to work-life balance and everything in between. Today we have a very special guest who's going to talk to us about the power of influence. Whether in the court or in a negotiation, the goal is winning. Today, knowledge of the law is not enough. Attorneys must be image masters in order to win over judges, juries, mediators, and clients. Today, Sara Canuso is going to talk to us about how to create power through image, communicate with body language, and strengthen self-confidence. Sara is the president of Women That Influence. She addresses thousands of people annually at events such as the Pennsylvania and New Jersey Governors Conference for Women, the American Bar Association Women's Rainmaking Conference, and Women in Technology. She also speaks at the Philadelphia Business Journal and the National Association of Women Business Owners. Sara has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, NBC, CBS, and KYW Radio. She also has written on the impact of image for corporate America and in the Legal Intelligencer, Philadelphia Business Journal, and Westlaw Journal, the Philadelphia Maven, and the Burlington County Straight Work. Welcome, Sara.
Hi, thank you, Ann. So happy to be here with you and your listeners. This is so exciting for me because you know how I love to talk about the power of influence because it does truly affect the outcome on all aspects of our lives, but especially in law.
Oh, especially. And, you know, we talk frequently on this show about how building business has changed drastically, but one thing that really hasn't changed is the power of influence. So let's talk a little bit about first impressions. How important really are first impressions when meeting someone?
Well, and you know, we speak about the impact of first impressions. First impressions are critical, and I'm using the word critical. When meeting someone, when walking into a courtroom in front of jurors, when walking into meetings, we are hardwired to read first impressions, to form first impressions. Be it fair or not fair, do we not all create first impressions when we see someone, we meet someone, and we go, what were they thinking or what were they doing? So, you know, first impressions are really critical. And, you know, we give, and I, you know, I'm in this world where I meet so many people who spend so much time preparing for a case, time, money, worry, and then they give so little thought as to what they're wearing into a courtroom, their body language, or being able to read body language. You know, it just truly amazes me how little thought they give to that. So I think people are becoming more and more aware of the impact of first impressions when they meet someone because, you know, the business has changed so dramatically that people are so much more aware of who they're dealing with, who they're giving their money to, who they're hiring as attorneys. So I think that, you know, I know that having a powerful first impression is absolutely critical.
So well said. You know, I really agree with you. I think people underestimate how quickly someone will size another person up, and you're really hitting on something powerful.
But, you know, Ann, the thing that I'm sorry, go ahead. Let me just share this with you. What really what really was a red flag for me was, I get to interview jurors as well, and when I hear of what they talk about when they're discussing, a case, they're talking about what the attorneys have on, and, oh, he doesn't look that smart, and, did you see the shoes he was wearing, and the suit that, and I'm like, oh, my God, are you kidding me? So, yeah, so jurors and people that are meeting, you're going into a meeting, a negotiation, and people are being very heavily influenced within 7 seconds of meeting you, whether or not they want to do business with you, whether or not they know, like, or trust you. That's within 7 seconds before you even say a word.
Oh my goodness, 7 seconds. I mean, that. You can't even say anything.
Right.
I mean, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that statistic. So what do you think are the top 3 ways to create powerful first impressions to influence people to know, like, and trust you before you even say a word?
Well, I would say the top 3 are number 1. The top 3 is the way I talk about powerful first impressions. But truly, the question is, what is the first impression you have of yourself? Because how you see yourself is how the world is going to see you. So that is the number 1 topic I always touch on when I'm meeting with clients, when speaking at conferences, when going into law firms. What is the first impression you have of yourself? Because your inner worth will always be in alignment with your outer worth. Your inner first impression is how others will see you. Number 2, the way you walk into a room with your posture, with your shoulders back, and I cannot emphasize enough the power of a handshake. I can walk into a meeting and shake someone's hand, and I can tell basically what their mindset is, whether or not I could tell them a Brooklyn Bridge, or whether or not they are feeling as though they're going to, shake my hand and say, you know what, Sarah, I'm in control here. The handshake, I cannot emphasize to you enough the power of a handshake. That is the way we immediately connect with someone. And I say to people, the impact of body language is critical in being able to read, but not only read body language, but really, what is your body language saying about you? You see, we are hardwired. We're hardwired to read body language. But what happens is when people start to speak, the body language goes to the wayside. And we don't realize that people are subconsciously reading our body language or getting, we're sending off signals with our own body language. It's really amazing, the power of body language. It is a language, Anne. That's why they call it body language. It is truly
so
a language. Yeah, it's a language. So that's number 2. Number 3, what you're wearing, your appearance, your outer appearance, what you're wearing, the clothing you're wearing, how you're wearing it, your style, your personal brand. So people say to me, I don't think I have a brand. And I say, everybody, I laugh also, and I go, really? Everyone has a brand. The question is, what is your brand saying about you? Because there are some things that will really trigger people's mindset and influence them as to whether or not you're successful, whether or not you're smart, whether or not you're powerful, just by what you're wearing. And let me be clear on this. I have nothing against business casual, but I don't feel there's anything casual about my future. And there's a fine line between business casual and business casualties. And I do not take my future, and I do not take my future casual, and there's nothing casual about my future.
I love that statement. I want you to expand upon that.
So here's like I say, business casual, and prior to starting my own company, I was a professional clothier, and I would go into law firms. Most of my clients were attorneys, and I would go into these law firms, and I would look around at some of the people walking around, and I would say, oh, wow, like maybe today is the company picnic, or maybe they're going to this basketball game. But here's my thought on. If I'm going in and first of all, I'm going in with a problem, all right? I'm going in with a concern. I'm going in to meet with a lawyer over an issue that it is a real concern to me. And I'm going in and paying good money. I really don't want to feel as though, oh, well, I hope I'm not holding it back from playing golf, or I hope I'm not holding her back from going to the gym, because I see the way some of the people are dressing today, and it's like, really? Are you kidding me?
It's true. This is one of the number one complaints we hear when we talk to some of the larger firms, but a lot of them, particularly with the younger associates that are coming in, that there isn't quite the same idea of what is considered professional, whether it's business casual or not, whether it's a professional appearance,
Yeah, and as I said, believe me, there is a very fine line between business casual and business casualties. Very fine line. So, and as I say, here's what happened though. Friday was business casual, okay? And no one took the time, so many firms and companies, I'm not just saying law firms, so many companies in general, never took the time to say, here is what business casual is. So, you may have 20 people in the office, and 20 people have different ideas of what casual is.
That's true.
And, so no one took the time to do that. And then what happened was it was like, okay, so let's have Thursday and Friday be business casual. And then before you know it, it was like letting go of the reins, and everyone just came in with their own idea of, what business casual was. And it got out of control. And then it was very difficult for the law firms to then go back and say, whoa, 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 because then everybody, has got their backs up in the air. So that's why I'm called into so many firms for my programs to really, really empower, elevate, and impact not only their mindset, but their whole business bottom line. And trust me, when I go in to do a program, those people attending leave with an immediate impact on how they view their future. And trust me, they don't come into the office ever again not being prepared.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because here's what happens. Every day is filled with opportunities and abundance. But my question is, are you ready for it?
I love it.
Are you ready?
Now, you spoke earlier about body language, and you alluded to the importance of it, but let's talk specifically about body language when it comes to your ability to make an impression in meetings and courtrooms. Expand upon that, if you will.
Okay, so I want you to just keep this phrase in your head. I want people in the palm of my hands. Your hands play such a critical role in when you're speaking in meetings, when you're speaking in front of jurors. First off, with body language, the way you have your posture, your shoulders back, your posture will give you an immediate look of confidence, whether you have it or you don't. So your shoulders back. Speak with your hands. Whenever you're speaking, your hands, again, if you're in a meeting, that handshake is the first initial contact there. Then when you're speaking in meetings or in front of jurors, you should be using your hands and always having the palm of your hands facing you. So you want to pull people into your way of thinking. You want to pull people in to your ideas and your side of the case. So, as I said, just picture using your hands. You know, you should be using your hands. And then when you're discussing, raising your hands and pointing the palms towards you. That will always pull people into your way of thinking and your way and connecting with you. So it's easy to remember, I want people in the palm of my hands. Hands are big indicators, even when you're, people are touching their face, rubbing their chin. So let's say you're in a meeting or negotiation or you're in front of a jury and someone is rubbing their chin. That is a good indicator that, they're seeing things your way.
Oh, wow. Interesting. And thanks for sharing some real concrete tips on how to interpret body language. I think sometimes, we understand it in theory, but you're really sharing actual what it means.
Here's another good one, too. As I say, the hands are always a good indicator. So if someone is sitting on the stand or sitting in meetings and they're pulling on their neck, anytime the hand touches the neck, it's a sign that they're under stress. And they're like sweating it. So, they're usually pulling at their neck or pulling at their shirt collar or pulling at something or just touching their neck. Their hand to neck is a sign that they're feeling the pressure. They are really feeling the pressure.
Oh, wow. Those are great. Those are wonderful.
Yeah.
Now,
and I'm going to, at the end of the show, I'm going to have an amazing cheat sheet for your readers on body language, because I cannot emphasize enough how critical it is to start to really learn how to read and your own body language. You don't want to be giving signs off of your own body language. You need to control your own body language as well.
Absolutely. Now, what is it that makes some people more influential than others?
I am so blessed to have the opportunity to meet hundreds and hundreds of people over the course of the year, and I would say that the reason that there are some people who are more influential over the others is, again, it starts with the first impression they have of themselves. Once you have that strong, confident first impression of yourself, confidence, everything else, because you're always going to be in alignment with the level, your internal level of confidence, your internal level of belief, your internal level, like how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself walking into a room? How do you see yourself, in front of that, jury? And then what happens is once you have that inner image, that inner belief, it's as though you become unstoppable, and you go out and you're more aware of what you're wearing, you're more aware of your body language, you're more aware of connecting with people. So and as I say, it's really, as I say, I meet hundreds and hundreds of people over the course of the year. And that, I would say, is the number one reason. The inner image will always be in alignment with the outer image. The higher your inner image, the higher level of influence you're going to have.
That makes so much sense. It really is about working from the inside out, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, and as I said, when I started in the profession, I started out as a personal branding specialist and making custom suits and and accessories and so forth. And then I realized, you know what? So does it not make sense if it were just in the clothing? Wouldn't it be more beneficial for a firm to just give their associates a check and say, here, go out and buy a nice suit, go out and buy a nice dress, go out and buy a nice, that's not it. That's not it at all.
Oh, wow. Yes. So, I wanted to just take a moment to remind our listeners that if you have a question for Sara directly, please give us a call now. Call 347-838-8719 and press 1 to get in the queue. That's 347-838-8719 and press 1 to get in the queue. Okay, Sara. So, we're talking about some really important issues here, and it's something that is extremely important for lawyers to be able to be influential, not only in the courtroom, but in being able to lead their clients and being able to command a real presence.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is your number one tip that you can give our listeners about having an immediate impact on the way that they influence others?
So I would say that their attire, what they're wearing. So let's just say we'll use going into meetings, negotiations, or courtrooms. First of all, you should always be in a suit. A suit for your first meeting, for your first day in court, for your first time you're meeting the jury, for your opening statement. And you should always be in a dark suit. Here's the rule of thumb. The lighter the suit, the less influence you will have. The lighter the suit, the less influence you will have. So someone coming into a room with, say, a navy suit should always have on a white shirt or a white blouse or a white camisole. White is a sign that you're ready to do business. See, colors also psychologically affect people. So if two people are walking into the courtroom, one has a navy suit on, white shirt, white blouse, white camisole. The other person is coming in with maybe a light gray suit, maybe a yellow shirt, or the one in the dark suit is going to seem as though they're the one with the most power.
Oh, my goodness. I had no idea about that. That's such a handy rule.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what about, does that same rule apply for both women and men?
Yes, absolutely. So the other thing is a lot of times when you're going into meetings, and we're talking about, as I say, the first impression is so critical. So you're going to meet with a potential client for the first time. You should always have either a suit or a jacket on. A jacket is always a sign. Suit or jacket will always give you more influence as opposed to going with no jacket, no jacket, or just for women, even if you're going in with a dress, jackets will always give you more power. So we're talking about first impressions. So you want to walk into that meeting, you want to walk into that meeting with a client for the first time, or in front of the jurors for the first time. You want them to really say, wow, this person is so smart, so credible. I really like this person. And I always say it's human nature. Once you create a likability factor, when people like you, they will go out of their way to do anything for you. They will go out of their way to see things your way. They will go out of their way to help you. So creating that likability factor is really key.
I love it. Now, one thing that I'm curious about is we have in this economy a number of lawyers who are looking for a career transition and a number of fresh law students who are looking for jobs. Do the same rules apply, and is it important for them to establish influence when they are looking for a job?
Oh, so here's what I hear, because, you know, I had programs at various law schools called Campus to Corporate, and it was preparing the students for the transition from campus life to corporate life. So in meeting with the partners in law firms, do you know what the number one complaint was that they all had? Was the fact that the people came in to apply for the position, and they didn't shake their hand, and they came in totally disheveled, and they felt as though if they did not have the respect for them, how were they going to have the respect for their clients? And I had one law firm, and it was a shame because the partner said, you know, he said there was a young gentleman. He said he was everything we were looking for. He said his resume was like unbelievable. He was the guy was brilliant. He was just what we were looking for. By the time he got to me, I was the third one that he was coming to interview. He walked in, never shook my hand, sat down. I didn't tell him to sit. He just walked in the office, didn't shake my hand, sat down. He said, and he came in a pair of khaki pants and a shirt that was so wrinkled, and he said, there's just absolutely no way I could hire this applicant. Just no way.
Oh my goodness! I really am so glad you shared that, because I feel like we have a lot of listeners that need to hear that yes, your brains are important. Yes, your credentials are important, and equally important is how you present yourself.
Oh yeah, that's the number one complaint I hear from so many of the partners at law firms. They're like, we just couldn't hire him. Everything we were looking for, but he did not have the, you know, he was just not polished. Just not polished.
Unbelievable. And what about just a sort of an offshoot of this? You know, a lot of lawyers are networking nowadays to build business. Would you say the same rules that you have mentioned apply in a networking situation as well?
Well, I always say with networking, I mean, think about it. How many times you go into a networking situation, and it's always the ones that you remember, that you walk into a room and you see someone walk into a room and they attract your eye. And it's, so if I'm going into a networking situation, I will always have something on that people will remember. So I'll either wear a bright jacket, or I'll wear a great looking scarf. I'll have something that people remember. And also when I go up, I will shake their hands and say, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Sara Canuso, and I wanted to introduce myself, and just show when you're showing interest, and they remember me. They'll say, oh my God, I remember you. You had that gorgeous jacket on, or you had the big pearls on, or, you know, it's always something that they remember. It's always something.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So,
and so it is slightly different for a networking event. It is, you know, you need something that will make you stand out.
Yeah. For a networking event, I would, you know, so if I were at the office one day, and let's say, I'm just using this as an example, so let's say someone's in the office with a suit, or, you know, and what I would do is if it's a female, I would put on a great scarf, or a great necklace, or great earrings. And for men, I cannot emphasize the impact of ties, great looking ties.
Wonderful.
Really, you know, ties are really.
Sara, this has been amazing. You know, you've given such great advice in such short time, and we're basically out of time. So tell us how our listeners can get a hold of you.
So for your listeners who would love, I'd love to share, I have a great ebook called Body of Evidence. So if they would like the cheat sheet book, I could email it to them, and they could reach me at Sara, S-A-R-A, at women, W-O-M-E-N, at influence.com. Again, it's Sara, S-A-R-A, at women, W-O-M-E-N, at influence.com. And I might add, and I don't want your male listeners to think I don't work with men as well, because I do. I work with a lot of men also. But I'm happy to send you over the Body of Evidence ebook, or if you have any questions, you can just shoot them over to the same email address. And I do answer all of my own emails.
Wonderful. Well, Sara, this has been such a great interview. We really appreciate you coming on board and sharing all of your wonderful insights.
Thank you. Anytime.
Thank you. So, listeners, let's keep the conversation going. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and let us know what you thought. What makes a powerful first impression for you? How can you be more influential? How can you apply the tips that Sara has shared? You can find all of our information on www.esquirecoaching.com, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.